Damn it. What is this? what do I got now? They got birds in the background.
I got myself, Galen, and one other person, whoever 13054 is.
This
I'm
is
just
weird.
playing tech
This is
support
like
today,
Breakfast Steakhouse meeting with a bird in the background of the
Who's the
tree.
bird?
That's the one, 13054. That's what, I don't know who that
And
is.
there's Doug.
And
I
that's
think
me.
that's,
And
I
Galen's
think
got his
that's
name.
Louis.
So, but now I've got blank screen.
I just see.
I can, oh, you don't have the 13054? Oh, that's Martin.
Doug, that's, I believe, Louis.
Who's talking?
That's why that is.
13054 be me.
Apologies, guys. I had the broadcast of the live meeting playing in the background while all of you guys were trying to speak at the same time. And there was about a 30-second delay of you guys talking over each other.
You can mute and use the space bar to unmute.
Hello.
Space bar.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Dirk, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Thanks.
The bird, where the heck is the?
How's the sound over here?
Sounds good, Steve.
Yeah,
You
okay,
got the
thanks.
best. You got the best background too.
You know, I tried. I was trying to get a step and repeat with the city seal, but it didn't happen.
I still haven't figured out who'd do the whole background thing yet. I just gotta.
You touch the three dots over at the more sign, and then it'll give you a drop down for virtual backgrounds. And then you go into your photos, you select a photo you want, up to like 5 or 6 of them, and then you can swap around back and forth. But it's just right up here on the top of your screen. It should be 3 little dots right next to participants. It says more. You'll see a microphone, stop video, share content, participants, and more. So, hey, Dirk. John. Yes, Clavier.
Howdy.
Hey, John. Stark.
You.
I'm on YouTube. What is this? God, I hope I will help. God, oh, I was trying to see. I'm gonna put my thing on there the whole time.
Okay. There he is. Hey.
Hey, Doc.
Hi, Dirk. I like your background. I can't hear him.
Oh, I'm sorry. I muted myself. That's the bay behind my house. But I'm not there.
I see. All right, do we kick this thing off? Looking for a go-ahead from the lawyer.
Councilman San Martin is about to dial in.
Okay,
Give him a couple of seconds.
there's so many people, I lost track. Yeah, I don't have him yet. I see Louis. Doc, John.
Okay, should be with us any second now. Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir. Ready?
do you have the page 1 of 249 in front of you?
I am certain that that is what that is.
Okay,
It looks like it's section 250.54 something.
yes, that is
Let's just
correct.
call
All
it
right,
that.
that paragraph
Okay.
is for you to read, and then I'll read the second part.
Yeah, roger that. Okay, let's call this meeting to order. Virtual meeting of Tuesday, May 12th, 2020, City of Marathon. Pursuant to Executive Order number 20-69 issued to the office of Governor Ron DeSantis on March 20th, 2020, municipalities may conduct meetings of their own governing boards without having a quorum of its members present physically or at any specific location, and utilizing communications media technology such as telephonic or video conferencing as provided by section 120.545B2 Florida statutes. Procedures for the public comment will be explained by the city attorney shortly and may be adopted by the council for all virtual meetings in the future. The members of the city council appearing remotely for this meeting are council members John Bardis, Mark San Martin, Dr. Daniel Zieg, Vice Mayor Louis Gonzalez, and me, Mayor Steve Cook. The Pledge of Allegiance, if you will stand and join, will be led by Councilman John Bardis.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands
For which
stands
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman. Welcome to all the councilmen. Mr. Smits, if you would.
Right, okay, yes, sir. Here we go. All right. The material for each, I'll make the following statement. The material for each item on the agenda is available during business hours at the city clerk's office and online 24 hours a day at www.ci.marathon.fl.us.
Thank you.
Any person who wishes to make public comment during this meeting may be heard by the city council through the mayor for not more than 3 minutes on any proposition before the city council unless modified by the mayor. Since this is a virtual meeting as authorized by the governor of the state of Florida, members of the public wishing to address the body may do so by calling 305-289-4130 or emailing cityofmarathon@ci.marathon.fl.us with your name, address, and agenda number of the items you wish to comment on, along with the phone number where you can be reached after 4 p.m. on May 12th, 2020. Any member of the public wishing to comment on items not on the agenda may make their comment known to the council by emailing council@ci.marathon.fl.us or submitting the comment to the Dropbox maintained at City Hall no later than 4 hours prior to the meeting All comments submitted will be included as part of the record for this virtual meeting and will be considered by the city council prior to any action taken. When addressing the city council, the member of the public must first state his or her name, his or her address, and what item will be spoken about. And when wishing to appeal the decision made by the city council for any matter considered at this meeting, may need a verbatim record of the item. A video of this meeting may be requested after the meeting by emailing cityofmarathon@ci.marathon.fl.us and may be viewed live on YouTube. I don't have the link right here in front of me. Please silence all cell phones, other noise-making devices. Any persons with a disability requiring assistance, auxiliary aids, and services for this meeting may notify the city clerk. Please note the city council members have generally been briefed by the city staff and the city attorney on items on the agenda today. The only thing I would like to add is, Mr. Jones, if you could state the YouTube site. Or Ms.
I
Claudia,
think I have it if you want.
anyone.
It is a lengthy one. youtube.com/channel/UCF-IMQ7D-JLNH0LPQ/GQBK Taft Q/live.
And is also on our website. With that, Mr.
Alrighty.
Mayor, you may proceed.
All right, let's go to item 5, public comments on agenda items, please. Do we have any public comment?
We have no one that signed up. We did try to reach one person who didn't answer their phone numerous times.
Very well. Moving on. Item 6, approval of agenda and consent agenda. Are there any changes, council?
Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I would like to add for a discussion item, high school graduation at the community park. I have a couple questions for different directors. It's not necessarily an agenda item, but are we going to be able to interact with the directors throughout the meeting to maybe ask them questions directly about different issues that have been brought to my attention?
I haven't been briefed that we wouldn't.
Okay, perfect. Then it doesn't need to be an agenda item. I think we could just that time comes.
Okay. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry, is that Mark?
Yes.
Mr. St. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. St. Martin, please.
Just sort of along those same lines. I know we don't have any specific items for directors. But I do have some questions for building and public works, as well as some comments for Parks and Rec. So I don't know if you want those to be itemed.
Yeah, we'll do those as we'll do them as building and then as Parks and Rec, right?
And public works.
Okay, so we'll do 3 items. So we're gonna do B1, B2, B3, or B2, right? B1, B2, B3.
Okay.
Also,
And, so public works, sorry for the delay. And then what was your 3?
It was public works, building, and Parks and Rec.
All right, so it'll be building, public works, park and rec.
Mr. Mayor, you did get the vice mayor's about MHS graduation at Community Park, correct?
Yes. That was A. Anyone else? Anyone? Staff?
Mr. Mayor, Council, I don't have anything to add to the agenda at this time. However, to answer Councilman Gonzalez's question, following the COVID-19 update, I was going to go through each director, allow them to give you a kind of a brief, and then it'll be open for questions as well. So if you want to handle Mr. St. Martin's questions under council items. We can put any other questions that you may have under city manager report, and we can do it for each director after they give an update.
All right, we'll make those as council item. Were you suggesting that we leave Vice Mayor Gonzalez's high school graduation to manager item?
No, I would leave that under council items, sir.
Okay, so
I
we
would
will make it 7A, 7B, 1, B2, B3, correct?
Yeah, if there's any other councilmen that have questions, because I'm sure questions are going to come up throughout the meeting.
Sure.
I'll just put them on the line and I'll be able to answer questions as they come up.
Okay. Anyone else? Doc? No? Okay. Hearing none, can I have a motion for the agenda?
So move to approve agenda as amended.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Hearing no negatives, it passes. Let's go on to council items. Not A at this point, but Vice Mayor Gonzalez, high school graduation, please.
Yes, well, thank you. As we know, graduation is quickly approaching here at Marathon High School. It's actually set to be on May 28th. And the school district has currently proposed virtual graduations throughout Monroe County. Of course, as involved as I am in the schools and with families here, I've received multiple phone calls in reference to seeing if there was something that as a city we could do to. I spoke with Chuck prior to proceeding, and then I met with Park and Rec and the class of 2020 sponsors at the community park to see if that was a site that we could and have enough social distancing space that would accommodate the graduation. Graduation this year, it's roughly 84 students. Based on what we looked at and measured out, and Paul could chime in also, we felt that there's enough room for the graduates. We would leave a large barrier of roughly 30 to 40 feet in front of the stage before we would begin to sit any of the families. We would space out on the soccer field, big white X's that we would paint on the grass. It would not damage the grass. It would come out just like the soccer lines do. And each X would accommodate a family. And we felt that this was a way that we could host the graduation for the kids, give them some closure since everything else for them has been wiped out, and safely do it. Measures that we would take of distancing, as well as we would require everybody that comes in through the gates to have some type of face covering or mask. So I'm bringing it to the council tonight to see what your thoughts, ideas, concerns, or your blessing.
Discussion, please.
Mayor.
Yes, Councilman San Martin.
I think Councilman Gonzalez's idea is great. And I would love to help or participate in any way possible. He has my full support on this.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman.
Thanks. I also would like to echo that. I think anything that we can do for the kids to help them, give them a graduation this year and give it to them as best way we can possibly do that while still maintaining social distancing. I think it's wonderful. I think it's a great idea, and I'm on board, whatever I can do to help as well.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, I guess we just need a head nod. Is that it for this? Or do we need we don't have to vote on this, I don't think. We just head nod.
Yeah, I prefer voting on it if we're going to use any city resources.
All right. Clerk Diane Clavier, please call the roll.
Councilmember San Martin,
Yes.
Councilmember Vardas,
Yes.
Councilmember Zig,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mayor Cook.
Yes, I know that was kind of out of order because we didn't actually have a motion or a second, but
Right.
yes, that can be retroactive.
Do you want to do it again? I'm happy to make the motion.
Go ahead.
A second.
I'd like to make a motion to follow Councilman Gonzalez's plan for helping out the high school kids graduation.
Second.
Thank you. And second. Thank you. Sorry for that bit of order issue. Next item, sorry?
Thank you.
Next item, Mr. San Martin, B1.
I'm sorry, did we say
Building.
Building? Okay. Building, actually have a few items here. Doug, do we have a report yet on the fee situation, the report, the analysis that we were going to do 6-8 months ago? Have we gotten to that yet?
Yes, we had that scheduled. I believe we had it scheduled for late March to do the first review of that with the engineering firm that did the actual study. It's sitting on my desk waiting for us to be able to do something publicly to roll it out and do the public comments award. It's just been tabled while we've gone through the two viruses.
Okay, because I haven't gotten, now I know my email was messed up a little bit more than others, I think, but I haven't gotten any copy of the report to review or anything yet. Have you sent it?
No, it has not been sent out yet. We're waiting to try to get everything scheduled and then send it out.
All right.
I mean, is it possible we can get that? I mean, I don't think we need to wait for a meeting to actually have it so we can review it.
Yeah, I have no trouble getting it out to you. I'll send that out to council this week.
All right.
All right, next.
Next item, as far as our permit situation right now, where are we as far as caught up, ahead, behind, how many more or less?
I prepared, just some numbers so that we can kind of get a view of what the building department's doing right now. And this would have been in my regular report, but we're slowly getting caught up. I think if you walk through the building, you'd see a stark difference in where we were 2 months ago to where we are now. We've pretty much reorganized, but just to give you a snapshot of like the last 2 weeks. So last 2 weeks ending yesterday, we issued 34 permits. We took in 50 applications, but when you break that 50 applications down, it breaks down this way. 6 of those 50 have already been issued within 5 or 6 days of coming in the door. 5 were returned completely incomplete, so they were in the old world where we could sit down with somebody at the counter, they would not have been accepted. 31 of those are in review now. Some of those may still get returned because we haven't had a chance to really look at them. The way we do the drop boxes right now, you bring the permit in, you put it in the box, nobody looks at it until the next day when we get a chance to review it, and then the plans examiners review it. So some of those go back and are not accepted also. There are also 8 permits that are already completely through the review process and will be priced and out within the week. So those 50 are processing pretty quickly. We're able to get some things through. We're still not anywhere close to where I want to be. There's still things that get biased, things that get held up. Working with kind of in the virtual situation we're in, where we have people working from home, we have plans reviewers and inspectors coming in. It's been a little cumbersome trying to get really organized and make things flow really well when things are not all in one place. But I can tell you during that same time, while we took 50 applications, we took 322 pieces of information, whether that was a new application, whether that was a revision. That's a lot. That's 30 plus pieces every day we get that we have to process and put through the system. Also during that same 2 weeks, we did 397 inspections. So the building department is running at full tilt, even though we're split up and we're not able to see everybody every day. I think we're really making progress. The new software is coming along. We're beta testing the new software right now. There's a lot of good things going on right now.
Okay, so do you have a number more or less? Was it 300? Was that the number that you were at that we're backed up right now?
I don't have an exact number how we're backed up. one of the things we've done for the last 2 weeks, is actually 3 weeks, is we've gone back through all the pending files, which were very cumbersome. Some dating back 2 years or to the storm, basically. And we've gone through every one of those and emailed every one of those contractors or owner builders, trying to clean the system back out. So that was trying to get everybody that's had anything pending, especially long-term, but even short-term, trying to get those out of the building, either cancel it or issue it, get what we need and get it moving. So we're working on every front right now, trying to get the building department really, when we open back up in the next week or so, really clean and organized and back to pretty much to a 0 point, to where we're just permitting the stuff that we have in the queue.
Okay. And you mentioned the software, which was one of my other questions. Has it been implemented? Is it transitioning over from the old one at this point, or what's the status on that?
Right now, the software, we got all our back data loaded in. I spent some time last week beta testing it. We sent it to all the permit techs, Brian, Cody, a lot of the staff at Libby have it. We're testing it. The next phase will be to pick a builder or two to test it from the outside, and then we'll be rolling it out. So we're really close. There's probably a gap between the actual data we sent the company and what we've done for the last maybe 60 days that have to be punched in between. But it really is for somebody that's not that technically savvy, myself, it actually looks really good, and I'm very pleased with it to date.
Okay. Okay. So next item I wanted to ask you about was the.
How many items are we doing here?
I think I've got.
Oh, you got Parks and Rec now, right?
Sorry?
You're going to go to Parks and Rec now?
No, I've got a couple of more for Doug.
Is this something that he could answer when he's doing his thing, or is this something you want to keep as an item?
Well, he doesn't have a thing on this meeting, so I figured I would ask now.
Okay, very good. But the city manager told us that we were going to have a chance to listen to all the directors, so I just trying to save us a little time. But go ahead, sir.
Okay, so the cargo lift thing that you were drawing up. Where are we with that one?
Pretty much things like that have been put on hold. We're spending all our time right now in the EOC and on the pertinent things with the two viruses. I do have most of that done. It can be rolled out as soon as we can go public. We're still struggling with that. We've issued a lot of elevator permits in the last 2 or 3 weeks, but I've not worked on the lift permit since the start of our shutdowns.
Okay. All right. And one last thing, with all this rain we had this last day or two, brought about the golf course drainage issues again. Have you made any headway there? I remember you said that they were getting a permit to do some kind of a planning out there to control the water.
I know back in February, when the last time we spoke about this, they were in for permits. I don't know where that is. I will have that on my list and follow up.
Okay. All right. That's all I have for Doug.
Great. B2 then, right? Public Works.
Public Works. This is Carlos, a couple of the same things that we've talked about too. First of all, I need to ask you about the Grassy Key dock, the kayak dock, and what is the status of that? Has it gone out for bid yet?
No, it has not gone out to bid yet. We've got the plans back from K2M that they had to do some modifications to make it bid ready as opposed to just permit ready. I've kind of been sitting on that for the last 3 weeks since I've gotten it. Mark, we've had conversations with Jennifer. We've probably taken a couple projects that we're going to maybe slow down how we roll these projects out, with a little bit of uncertainty as far as our potential revenue allocations here within the next through the end of this year. So we're looking at projects that are more like essential projects that we need to get done or projects that we have going on. And then the other one, we're taking them one at a time and make a determination. Should we hold off on this one or go ahead with that project? And we're having those conversations with Jennifer as we go along. We're almost taking a step back to see where we're going to be at some time, 4 or 5 months down the road in terms of projection, so we don't box ourselves into a corner.
Makes sense.
Okay. But you're going to have an update for us on that soon, on what that project order is going to be.
Yes, and I've got that thing. It's ready to go out to bid. The plans are done. It's ready. We're just going to have, when we get the green light, we'll go ahead and put it out to bid.
Okay. And then I wanted to ask you about the street sign situation.
Street signs, as I mentioned before, we're kind of waiting on, I'm trying to make that large purchase for new poles because we got that mitigation. Mark, at this point, we've been struggling with that a little bit with suppliers, costs. We're going to put that on hold and go ahead. It's just been too long. I'm not abandoning the project, but we're going to go ahead and put the street signs on the existing poles that we have out there just to get the signs out there. You're going to see those start going up in 3 weeks. I talked to our supplier. I've separated the two things. We can get the signs done because the total cost will be under that requirement to go to a formal bid. We just have to get the quotes. We have that done. So you're going to see those start going up in about 3 weeks. We probably get about 100 to 120 signs a week up. That's taking 2 of my guys, maybe 2 or 3 days a week to work on signs and then still pull them up and do our regular service up there. So with about at the end of the 3 week period, you're going to start seeing those go up at a rate of about 120, 25 a week. I'm going to work probably not in US 1 as we go first, because US 1, those, we have, street signs, not street signs, but all the power poles are painted out. Those are street numbers, but we're going to go back into the neighborhoods, Grassy Key, behind the airport, those neighborhoods that have street names that people are not as familiar with. We're going to start with those first, and then we'll progress over to the more obvious ones after that.
Okay. And then the last thing there was Aviation Boulevard. I noticed that it looks like all 3 of the brick walkways are done, but I think it's still closed at Stirrup Key.
The Stirrup Key one was closed yesterday. We received yesterday morning our 5-day break, and we usually go to a 7-day break, but we hadn't had them test a 5-day break of that concrete, and it came in about 80% of what that requires stretch. I mean, not 80, about 78, 77%. We'd like to get to that 80% before we put traffic on it of the design strength. Okay. We are having another break done tomorrow morning, which will be the 7-day break. I expect that to be at 80%, and they told me they're probably going to be opening it up by about 10 in the morning after we get that next break. I just didn't want to put traffic on there till we had for sure and start cracking concrete out there.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. But the end where it meets US 1, that end looks a little different than it did in the drawings. Is it coming out the way you expected it?
I see it that way. I haven't seen very much of a difference. I mean, they still have quite a bit of work to do, and they started to work on US 1, but they poured their curves. You can see the gap between the existing pavement and the curve up there, which they'll be, paving and then overlaying that whole road also. So that's going to be filled. That's probably why it looks different now. But I think it looks pretty close. I mean, just from observation, from what the plan is. We're not involved in that project a whole lot, other than been watching what they're doing. At the end of the day, though, we'll do an inspection because we will be taking that over for maintenance. So prior for them closing up the project up, they'll invite us. We'll do a walkthrough. They'll give us all the paperwork prior to us formally accepting that, not the US 1 portion, but the aviation portion, taking that over for maintenance.
Okay. All right, that was it. Thank you.
Next item.
Actually, it was just for Parks and Rec.
Right.
Paul, I just wanted to let you know that I've gotten a lot of really good feedback about the way you've been running the department as of right now, and in the lull with not as many things going on, that you're making great use of the employees' time and the resources that you have there. And I just wanted to give you a little good job on that.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Mark. I'll give more information on that when my time comes around with the report.
All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Mr.
gentlemen.
Mayor, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if I could chime in really quick, just one of the things that Mr. Sen Martin brought up was about the street signs, and just for council clarification, I wanted to make sure everybody was aware that that particular project, as far as the actual work project, is still not approved by FEMA. We were waiting for that. We've decided not to wait any longer. So, just be aware that the purchasing that Carlos was talking about, that's purchasing that we will do, with city funds. And, we still don't know if we'll be reimbursed for it, but we're hoping for it. There's been a lot of lag and a lot of weight on that, but a lot of it really has to do with, we want to make sure that we're doing everything properly and that, we're able to get what reimbursement we can, even though it's coming slow. So I throw that out.
You're saying there's a lag with FEMA funding. Is that right?
What a surprise.
Sorry, I'm just being the smart ass. Sorry. Moving along to, and thank you for that. City manager report. You have a COVID update?
Yeah, thank you. So I wanted to start with a COVID update, and what I was going to do is just kind of roll into some director reports, because a lot of what is being accomplished over the last 2 weeks or 2 months isn't COVID related, but it's really kind of taking a chance to take advantage of the time that we had. And I wanted to give each director a chance to give you guys an update. Also, it's been difficult with our, the previous ransom attack and all the other issues that we've had. This is the first time we've been together for a while. So I just wanted to make sure that there was a good collaborative discussion. In regards to COVID, first and foremost, I just wanted to say it's been incredibly challenging. There is no blueprint for the crisis in which we've kind of gone through. There really is, there's nothing to compare it to. There's nothing to reference. The city has basically utilized our NIMS ICS process and our ability to do so, and has done so really well. I'm happy to report where we are in regards to cases, where we are in regards to communication with the public, and opening has been as good as it can be given the current national and state and local situation. So I'd like to kick it to John really quick, to Chief Johnson. I'd like him to give you guys kind of an update from the EOC, let everybody hear kind of what we're working on, and then I'll take it back and we'll go through the directors.
Okay, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Just to go back to kind of day one, I want to start and kind of explain where we are and how we got here. As you all know, on 3/16 of 2020, the governor gave his executive order for the COVID virus. At that point, we established our EOC. We went into what we were calling operational periods, and we are currently on a 7-day operational period. This Monday, we just started our 8th period. So we're going into 2 months of this operation. The first operation, the first week of this, we looked and addressed all our city buildings. We secured them, stopped all our walk-in traffic from the public, and attempted to continue on with city activities, city processes. We were able to create a process for our contractors to drop off and pick up permits. We have never stopped doing inspections or processing any of the permits. Like Doug mentioned before, that we are looking at a lot of old permits, processing everything out. We started working on our employees that we could work from home, getting them the proper technology via computers, be able to log in and continue to work from home. That has been very successful. So we have not had to lay anybody off or put anybody in a situation that they weren't comfortable coming to work. Again, on May 8th, as you know, the governor extended his emergency order for another 60 days. So again, we've been working the EOC, looking at protocols, because again, we want to start bringing some of our workers back into the EOC, back into the city hall. But we want to make sure we're doing that safely and the employees are comfortable. We're also looking at the CDC guidelines for special provisions for employees that possibly have medical conditions or some reasons why they can't come back in and group in. Some of the things that you're probably going to see when we first doing that is just like all the other businesses out there, people in City Hall will be wearing masks, be practicing social distancing in the workplace. It's going to be a little bit difficult. Once we get the staff back in and working, we're working on plans how we can start opening our buildings back up to the public. Again, it's going to be slow. We'll probably do appointments only for those contractors or anybody that has any business to do with City Hall. Set up a place they can come in and meet, and then we can address that, because we'll have to be cleaning and sanitizing in between those as we let more people back into the building. We are working on right now to try to get a deep cleaning of all of City Hall, which hopefully will be done over this weekend. And then we're going to start bringing in the rest of the employees that have been working from home. We have been doing very successful by rotating employees back and forth, which seems to work out pretty good. Other than that, as you know, we are following the governor's recommendations for the reopening. We have some updates on his phase 2. We don't have any dates yet as of yet. And as you know, our count currently is 95 cases in Monroe County. We only have 5 in Marathon, but we have not increased our cases in Marathon for over 3 weeks, which is showing that what we're doing is working. The other good news is currently in the hospitals in the Keys, we have nobody hospitalized for COVID-19 at this time. And that's just a very brief overview. Like I said, this is a moving target. City manager mentioned that there is no blueprint for this. So we are developing and trying to do as best we can, as safe as we can, and get back to what our new normal will be as fast as we can. And I'm here for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no question, does anybody have any questions directly of John?
Thank you, Chief.
Just a comment too. Yeah, thanks to you and all the hard work that your people are doing too.
Thank you, John.
You know, one thing, you know, I don't know if this is necessarily the forum for it, but you know, one thing I definitely kind of wanted to talk with everybody collectively. You know, when we're faced with a disaster or crisis that we're trying to manage, we try to identify and visualize what victory is. You know, how do you get to accomplish your mission? How do you get to your objective? What's a win? And with this particular crisis, you know, I kind of want everybody to realize, you know, they're identifying a win is very difficult. And it's very difficult because if we don't have any cases and we do great, I consider that a win. But there'll be a large population that will say, oh, you guys overreact, right? If we are very cautious and we reopen and then we start to have a spike, then, oh, you guys aren't doing enough, right? This is a very difficult process to try to really identify what that win or that victory is like and try to accomplish that mission. So what I wanted to kind of pass to you guys is, you know, it's uncharted water. However, it's really important that we just do things smartly, we do things methodically, and we find balance. Public safety has been number one from day one. Every decision that is being made is obviously with public safety in mind. But our economy and our very basis for that economy is right there, a close second in the back of our mind. So we've been doing our best in Marathon to ensure that we're following the governor's orders and we're messaging as appropriately as possible. It has been challenging, as you all know. The communications portion of it's been challenging. We can talk about that a little bit later. But I really wanted to take a brief moment here to go through and give the directors a chance to kind of give an update from their departments on COVID, and then also be available for any other comments. So let's start with Mr. Sauce from Utility. Dan, do you want to go ahead and chime in?
Yes, sir. Mayor, council. Can you hear me? Okay.
Gotcha.
All right. You know, in my department, we really haven't had any downtime. I mean, we've been running pretty much business as usual. All of our staff, except for myself, working remotely, and the operations supervisor working remotely. Back when they closed down the hotels and all the rentals, our flows dropped to about 60%. That gave us a unique opportunity to get out and get some jobs done. We've had some valve failures that I believe are leftovers from Irma. These valves are mounted like ground level. And even though we replaced the electronic part of them on the tops, now the mechanical parts are starting to fail. And due to the design of the plants, there was no way to replace these valves without shutting the whole plant down. So in the last 8 weeks, we've basically redesigned the whole influent piping arrangement, and we've replaced the influent header and all the valves at service area 3. And what that means is now on either side of the automatic valve for each SPR, there's a manual valve, so you can shut those 2 valves replace that valve, and you don't have to shut the whole plant down. The low flows have really been an advantage for that. So we got that done. We did it also at service area 7. We finished service area 6 last week, and we've got service area 4 scheduled for tomorrow. So we've really made a lot of progress on all those projects. We've also replaced all the membranes at area 5 plant under warranty. That was done, I think, 2 weeks ago. And we have a sludge line and valve replacement at area 7 that was completed. Yesterday I went and replaced the VFD for one of the blowers at the area 4 plant. Today I was working on the stormwater pump station out on 39th Street. We're putting a SCADA monitoring system on that so we can tell in real time if there's a failure out there. So we've gotten a lot accomplished. All the guys very good on their PPE, using all the precautions, and everybody's been healthy. We haven't had one missed day, knock on wood, because of the virus. And I'm be glad to take any questions from anybody.
All right, if there's no questions, I'd like to go. Paul, why don't you give us an update on Parks and Rec, buddy?
Okay, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. We got the on the 16th, when they told us that we was gonna be closing the parks and the beaches that morning, we got together with the Parks and Rec Department and with Public Works, and we went around and basically locked up all of the gates at the beach or at the park, put up signs at each one of our parks and at the beaches to make sure that everything, the signage was up, and after that, we got together as a group and we talked about, you know, this time, how we're going to take advantage of this adversity. And one of the things was, you know, let's beautify the facilities that we have. So we started off with just wanting to paint the outside of the building, the office and the restrooms. And next thing you know, we said, well, let's do the inside of the bathroom. So we went inside the bathroom and started inside of the bathroom, and it was like, you know what, this floor feels kind of soft. Let's replace this tile. And the next thing you know, we got 3 new floors in the bathrooms at the community park. We added another color, a green color, to the shutters at the community park, which kind of flows pretty nice, we think. We've worked on the batting cages, not the batting cages, I'm sorry, but the dugouts. We stained the poles and repainted those. We've basically pressure washed each one of the concession stand and the amphitheater, repainted those. And we also repainted the inside of the restrooms at the concession stand. And also inside of the concession stand, we put stain on the main pavilions at the community park. The next thing we're working on is the batting cage. We were going to put the batting cage up earlier, but with the whole thing with this regarding the social distancing and everything, we would put that up. We felt that it would be a large group of people showing up and there's really no way to control that. So we decided to wait a while. And now that we're in phase 1, that's the project we're going to work on next week. Then we went over to Jesse Hobbs Park, and there was not much there because the whole park was closed as far as like when we moved into phase 1. So we looked inside the bathrooms. We saw that they needed to be repainted, and we repainted the bathrooms inside, and also redid the floors. This week, starting today, matter of fact, they started putting up the playground equipment and the shade structure at Jesse Hobbs Park. So hopefully, weather permitting, it should be done by this week, if not by the weekend. And over at Rotary Park, there's not too much, you know, with the playground equipment we've not been able to use. We basically went around and pressure washed the outside of the restroom, inside of the restroom, and did a deep cleaning in those restroom areas. Oceanfront, pretty much the same thing, except that we in the bathroom and Rotary really didn't need, it's pretty new, so we really didn't do much there except for the deep cleaning. But the restrooms at Oceanfront definitely needed a new paint job, so we repainted the inside of those restrooms and also redid the flooring. Then we went over to Sunbarrow Beach. That was kind of like we knew we wanted to you know, do some things as far as putting stain on the pavilions. But I'm like, you know what? Let's add some color to this thing. You know, And so I asked around to make sure that it was okay that, you know, we added a color to the pavilions. And so we decided to go with the blue that's the same color as the shade structure we have in the playground area. And to be honest with you, I think it looks awesome. I'm going to be sending you guys tomorrow like a portfolio of everything that we've done throughout the city as far regarding our parks and recreation, parks and beach areas. So we did that. We put stain on the pavilions. We've pressure washed each one of the pavilions. We painted the outside of the bathrooms at the beach. We went inside and did another deep cleaning inside of the beach. We took down the volleyball nets because we just didn't want that to become a problem once we did go into phase one. We put up new signage for at the beach and also at the community park as far as the pets, as far as the rules and regulations for the beach. And then we went on the Cocoa Plum, and that was another, it's pretty new. So we went in there, we did a deep cleaning in there. We redid the floor. And then we decided once we were going into phase one, we had to basically shut off the pavilions at the beach. So we went and put orange tape around the pavilions and also the barbecue grills. We did that at every pavilion at the park, at Community Park, Oceanfront Park. And like I was telling, and we did a lot of inside cleaning and storage areas. We got rid of a lot of stuff that was not being used in the trailer and also in the container. And like I told the team throughout this whole process is that, you know, let's get ahead of this. So once we do open up, we won't be trying to do projects, you know, that's been put on hold for God only knows how long. Let's get ahead of this thing. So I feel like we're in pretty good shape right now. The greatest thing we've been, you know, the scheduling, we have a crew come in in 8, 9, we got a crew come in at 1. So nobody was like a big group of people in at one time. Everybody was practicing social distancing. And I was, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, you got to learn how to step outside the box. You're going to be doing things that you never done before, possibly, but guess what? You're going to learn how to paint. You're going to learn how to clean, and we're going to have fun doing it. And everybody's been high spirits. Nobody been, you know, went home. Nobody was sick. Everybody's been high spirits, you know, good hope, and we're just going to keep striving along. So this is kind of a blessing and a curse for us, and we're just going to kind of keep moving forward. So I'll take any questions there's any.
Way
Hey,
to
Paul,
go.
this is Steve Cook. I'd like to thank you for being a great motivator.
Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir. Who was that?
Hey, Louis. Paul.
Louis, please, you're
Yes,
recognized.
yeah. Paul, I want to, you know, personally thank you for motivating the department. You guys have really taken it up a notch. Out that your crew even painted garbage cans. They painted out the garbage cans. They painted the garbage receptacles in and out. They painted the dumpster areas in and out. I mean, your crew at a drop of a hat was available to work with the farm shared team that came in and handed out food to about 500 or 600 families. You guys have really, you know, stepped it up. You've taken it to the next level when it comes to pride in your department, and I really want to thank you for what you're doing there at the park. I have a question. I don't know if it's for you or if Chuck wants to chime in on it. I know that we're approaching here summer, where school is officially going to be out, and I have some concerns. My concern is that you know, usually we run an outstanding summer camp program, and with the situation that we're currently in, I know that your camp program usually 2 or 3 times a week, the kids go field trips out of town, and on a daily basis, we pack them all in on a school bus. I want to know if we've currently given this any thought. Do we have any guidelines? I know that the school system has already switched to virtual summer school for those students that need summer. It will be done virtually. Unfortunately, we can't do a virtual summer camp, but what are our plans?
But yeah, I've had some concerns myself regarding the summer camp, and a couple of things that I brought up is, you know, normally we take kids from age 5 to 13 years of age, and now with the whole thing with social distancing, if you look at our facilities, we really don't have much space except for the large pavilion, which you can only, if we were to even try to do any social distancing within there, we can't fit no more than maybe 8 to 9 kids. And then when you're trying to tell a 5-year-old, you know, stay 6 feet apart from somebody you haven't seen in 6 weeks, That's gonna be pretty difficult to do. When you ask them to put on a mask and keep that mask on, and you talking about playing around and running around, that's gonna be difficult for them to do. Me personally, I just didn't want to put them in a position that put us also in a position where, we really don't know with this virus yet. And we really don't know when we get to that point where we're gonna be. So I'd rather be on the safe side and not, if we can avoid doing that, avoid doing it, just be on the safe side. I know people plan, for it, but I'd rather, get that out now instead of waiting till the last minute. But just logistically, I just really don't see it being a benefit for us to try to hold the camp. And you're right, we've been on the school bus at least 2 or 3 times a week. You have the social distancing within on the bus, and and we don't have the staffing, to be honest with you. We have to go out and try to hire the staff and train the staff to get them ready for that. And me personally, I just think that'll be very difficult for us to do. Mr. Chuck, you got anything you want to say on that too?
Yeah, Councilman Gonzalez, thanks for bringing that up. It's something that we've talked about every week for probably the last month and a half. It's been one of those things where, we especially under these conditions, we try to make decisions with the best information we have at the time. And, both Paul and I, the last thing we want to do is cancel summer camp. So we've kind of gone week by week, just kind of hoping we get a little bit more information, nationally, locally, we get ahead of this thing because we wanted to have the summer camp. I just got the same information that you said, Lou, which kind of is getting us to this conclusion. We were going to talk about it tomorrow, but we can talk about it here. Our determination is really to cancel the summer camp based on a couple things. The social distancing that Paul talked about is absolutely true. I mean, heaven forbid he get, Bo and his friends Joe and Fisher and try to keep them apart from each other, right? I can't even do that. I don't know how Paul could do that. But really what it was the information you stated about the school district. We just got the information that the school district has decided to cancel in-school summer school and go to virtual. So that kind of is the indicator for us that, yeah, we're going to need to cancel it. We didn't want to. We wanted to wait as long as we could to make sure, we didn't pull the trigger too early. But unfortunately, I think that's where we're at. All right, if there's no other questions for Paul, I'd like to move on. Sean, do you want to give us an update from the marina?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. We're running at 100%. All my staff is doing well, working hard. We're doing normal jobs still. Our pump outs continue. We're probably doing extra pump outs because most of the people are staying on their boats, self-isolating and not using our bathhouse. I got one staff member, all she does is go down and clean, trying to keep everybody healthy. We have shoreline construction in the last couple of weeks. They've replaced all the damaged pilings on the inside dock, adding extra concrete between the 2 buildings, replacing some of the wooden steps with concrete steps. Hopefully next week, or even maybe later this week, just start on the wooden stationary dock that the handicap ramp goes to. And in a few weeks, all of our dock parts should come in, and they'll be replacing dock parts and putting the electric and the water back in so I can get my vessels back on the inside of the docks. That's about it. Any questions?
All right, thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Sean. George, you want to give us some updates from the planning department?
Yeah, hi, council. George here. I want to, I guess, reach out and say that, Brian Shea particularly has been doing double duty, both working in the EOC and, as Doug mentioned earlier, trying to clean up a lot of the permits. He's done a great job. If you go through the department now or through the departments right now, there's piles here and there, and I know that they're going through diligently to try to get rid of those. So that when we get back together and are operating together, a lot of that will be gone. It's something we haven't had the opportunity to do in the past, and it's been, frankly, an opportunity to do that. It's really, in some ways, business as usual, but we have the time to do it now, which is great. So, Brian's been working in the OC. doing a great job. I know Chuck would and John would shout out there. And we've been getting a lot of permitting done as well. I've been doing a fair amount of permitting and taking over a lot of the inspections. So that's probably a day of my week typically, which I don't normally do. And Lori has been working diligently to kind of keep the administrative side going, including a lot of the building permit stuff and so on, taking in, keeping track of inspections, getting them into the computer, sending out emails where there may have been an inspection failure or something like that, taking in checks and getting that all processed. So really business as usual, but in a different environment. So she's been working at home pretty much as I have been. On a different note, obviously we have, frankly, the things we do all the time. We have PC meetings coming up. I think the first one I'd like to do is June 15th. We had a fairly large agenda in March, which we couldn't do. We've added 2 or 3 items in April and May. So how we do that in June, I'm not sure, whether we just pile on at one meeting or maybe do 2. We're working on that right now. And of course, that'll all come to City Council. So at some point, we're going to have to ask you guys how you want to see that coming to you, whether you want a long meeting or maybe 2 meetings in a month. On other things, you know, the stuff that's outside of permitting, we've had some land management activities. State has actually been working with me on a couple things to purchase properties, both on Grassy Key and Cocoa Plum. So I've been providing information to them there. We had the HMGP grant for generators back right in March. So we're working on getting an RFP out for that. Obviously, you've got the CDBG grant on today. So we'll be looking at how we implement that in the future. And we've got another, working on a coastal resiliency grant as well, which is coming from DEP. Been continuing our work on the NFIP maps, and I participated in a workshop the county had a week or so ago, and we have the same contractor. So we're looking at what we're ultimately going to do in terms of carrying through with that mapping effort with FEMA. I also just, in fact, today spent an hour or so just before this meeting working on a pilot project with FEMA, which ultimately will get us some additional credits in CRS. And we, as part of our program, our CRS program, we work virtually on every permit to look at endangered species issues. FEMA would like to build that into their CRS system. Right now, it's something unique to the Keys. And so I'm working on a pilot project with FEMA and Lori Lure, who works for the county, to help ultimately add that to the CRS credits that we might potentially have. We're working on some GIS upgrades, which ultimately will integrate with the new permit system. And I think maybe the big news is, of course, we won the 300 unit lawsuit. I've had a number of conversations with Bart on that subject, which is really cool. As of today, I think I've talked to both, well, DEO and Bart a number of times, but as of, I guess, yesterday, we got our final exceptions in. We didn't make any. Obviously, they did, and I think it was 67 pages. So DEO is going to have to look at that in some detail to make sure they do their due diligence there. But having said all of that, we're very comfortable that we're going to rule on that. And I can go into more detail there, but I think we're in very good shape there. They have 90 days at DEO to actually issue their finding or their finding on the law judge's recommended order. We believe that'll happen actually in the first part of June. Also been working on the Shands case, which is a takings case of some length. We've been working on that for almost 10 years now, but I had a meeting with Dirk and our attorney at Johnson and Selmo simply to bring Dirk up to speed on that. I think it's a very important case. I know you guys get briefed on it, but I wanted to make sure Dirk was up to speed because it's something that looks like it's more critical than I would have thought so a few years ago. And then we're doing some projects. I've got a dredge project going. Carlos mentioned the kayak project, which for the time being is on hold. And frankly, I guess in the middle of this, we finished up the Canal 257 project, which again, Carlos has been overseeing, but I did a lot of the work initially on. So with that, I'll be quiet. And if there's any question, I'd be happy to answer.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor. Is it okay to speak?
Mr. St. Martin, go ahead.
Thank you.
Mark, go ahead.
George, thank you. Can you hear me? George?
I can, sure.
Okay, so in regard to the 300, I know we had talked about in the past that if we got to this point and we were successful, that we were going to come up with a ranking system. Are you going to move forward with that and start to implement how those 300 are going to be given out?
Good question, and the answer is yes. Right now, I think first of all, there was a something in the weekly here just last weekend, I think, which kind of misquoted me a little bit in sort of sounding like we had already pre-selected those projects to receive units. And of course, I think you all know that we couldn't do that until we won the case and then could actually allocate. So I want to make that clear. Having said that, we are at somewhere around 220 units approved and projects current. That's a round number, it's not exact, but pretty close. I looked at it the other day. And so I think we're within bounds now to simply go back and look at those projects and, you know, prioritize them either in terms of importance somehow or numbers or frankly when they came into the system. But right now we have enough to go around, and to be fair and make sure that everybody's being dealt with evenly, we'll make sure that we give you a good set of criteria to work with.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I have a question, please. I have a question, please, for George.
Councilman. Go ahead, Councilman.
Hey, George, do you think you and
Yes, sir.
Dirk can sit down with the other municipalities in light of the fact that we won the lawsuit and we stood the legal cost of about $200,000? Don't you think the other municipalities would be interested in maybe chipping in to produce our legal bills?
That's probably a Chuck question, but yes, I think, and actually, when it gets down to it, Bart, obviously, you know, was our attorney. He was also the attorney for Isla Mirada. So they are, in fact, bearing some portion of the cost. And in the fact that we shared evidence, there was sharing of costs. I will certainly go back and work with the other municipalities to see how that was proportioned or apportioned. I'll be happy to do that.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Since they are going to get the benefits like we are, they should bear some of the expenses too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One thing I would say, which just occurs to me, and it's a little off your question, but you know, Key West, they were the last one to adopt that ordinance and took advantage of the thought that they would take any additional units over and above their 300, and they wrote their ordinance that way. I will be coming back to you with a revision since we need to go through that process with our LDR version to make an adjustment there so that if we at some point in the future could avail ourselves of more than 300, we would legally be able to do that.
I have a question for.
Thank you.
I have a question for Councilman Zig. Sir, would you like to direct us to draft correspondence to the other municipalities? Well, first to review it to make sure that they didn't obviously incur some benefit or help, as you know, from our attorneys. Do you want us to go ahead and review that and draft correspondence to the other municipalities requesting them consider that? And if so, could I give that to the whole council to give us direction?
Sounds great.
Sounds good to me.
I guess I'm going to
Agreed.
defer to Dirk. Anything from council other than head nods to go ahead and proceed, because I think it's a good idea. I think that, you know, we did, you know, we had great counsel that I think a lot of other folks benefited from. So Dirk, is there anything we need to do for that?
Nope, I'll work with you and get it done.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and just to close that out, I know that we were splitting costs with Islamorada.
But you need to throw the county in there too, because they jumped in on the end as well.
Everybody else should pay their fair share.
Yep.
All right, thank you, George. With that, Doug, I know you already gave kind of a good update, but do you have any other additions that you'd like to add?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. I would like to at least let everybody know, as most of you know, we replaced our entire code staff early this year. So they really got thrown into the fire, especially with all the things we've gone through in the last 90 to 120 days. They've done a remarkable job chasing down every vacation rental, people that came in over the weekends. They knocked on a lot of doors. And for people that just started in that job, I think they did a remarkable job. We worked really closely with the county through this whole episode, both their code department and the tax collector's office. In the office in here, I know we're really stripped down probably to less than half of the staff in City Hall, but the staff that's here is really pulled together, and you know, nobody's ever said this is my department or that's not my department. Everybody's really working together really well, and I just want to thank everybody that's pulled together and helped code and building, planning, all of it working together, utilities. It's been a really great working environment.
Thank you, Doug. If there's no question, are there any questions for Doug? All right, what I'd like to do, I'd like to emphasize something what Doug just said. Doug, I really appreciate the new folks in code. You know, not only were they doing their job, but you know, I saw some of them out this weekend helping the Parks and Rec department out at the beach. You know, Dan Sauce, you know, I really want to thank Libby. Libby's been working overtime with the building department. You know, crossing those lines, helping out different departments. So yeah, Doug, you're absolutely right. Everybody's doing a great job and I really appreciate it. Chief, I'd like to go to you really quick. Do you have anything in addition to what you've already stated or anything that your departments are working on?
Yeah, just a quick update on our department. Just to let everybody know, since obviously this kicked off, we've gone to some additional measures to make sure not only our staff is taken care of and safe, but the residents out there. We have one unit dedicated for nothing but response to COVID suspected cases and also for interfacility transports for that, where we've made provisions to cut off the cab, the driver from the back area, taking on additional responsibilities, obviously throughout the station for decon, cleaning the units, keeping them clean. My staff has really stepped up with handling not only our normal runs or calls, but we're looking after each other for PPE protection, making sure we have enough. At the current rate right now, I have enough PPE for our current burn rate for about 8 to 9 weeks. And we are constantly out there working with the county, looking through our vendors to continue to get more PPE in and look at different types of PPE to make sure that we're all taken care of and that we do not have any issues. As of today, knock on wood, no staff has had any issues with COVID-19. We are screening them every day coming into work with temperature checks and general checks. So we make sure that nobody coming into work with any issues. And as you know, we had a little fire last night. The guys made a great stop. And we're moving forward. The guys have a good attitude, and we're trying to keep morale up. As you know, the graduation, you talked about the graduation, just to let you know, Chuck, the signs came in today. There'll be one on City Hall, Fire Station, and at the park, hopefully by tomorrow. Other than that, I'm here for any other answers or questions.
A question?
Mr. Sim Martin, please. Sorry, Chuck.
Chief, what do you say the call volume has been, or like over the last 2 months versus, previous to that? You notice a big drop?
If you look at the call volume, you're probably down about 15% in call volume, just because we don't have as many people in the city as normal. Our inter-facility has gone down a little bit also, just due to the fact that there's not that many people in town going to the hospital and being transferred out. So the call volume again is down about compared to last year.
All right, thank you.
All right, any other questions for Chief? All right, Carlos, I know you had a little bit to add. Do you have anything else that you'd like to chime in with?
Sure. I just talked about a little bit about our staff and what we've been doing. And my staff's been a little bit challenged. We've had some of my staff members had some issues with daycare of all other issues, like I'm sure some other parents have, and that's created a little bit of a problem with that and the roadblock. But we've been operating between 60 and 80% capacity with staff. And even saying that, these guys, I know that really stepped up. We've tried to take advantage of some of the situations. For example, the school being closed, the beach being closed. We went ahead and did all the cutbacks on Sombrero Beach Road that requires a road closure to do that. And then you saw we also started spreading millings to build up that shoulder on that side until we ran out of millings that we have. And I've got a remedy for that I'll discuss here in a minute. That stuff in the right of way. While they're doing that, they've also continued to keep working in the medians and do the landscaping, the mowing, to try to keep the city as neat and clean as possible. So when we do reopen up fully, it's, we're looking good and not a total mess. As far as the parks and beaches, we've taken advantages. We've replaced the water fountains, both at the beach and some at the park. We've replaced some urinals and some sinks, things of this nature in the bathrooms that were old and decrepit. We've taken the opportunity while the bathrooms were closed to get those replaced, and also really worked on our irrigation system. We've had some leaks. Like I said, when we revamped that system, we really increased the pressure on those fields to provide more coverage, which wasn't there before. But with that additional pressure, some of that old system, we've developed a bunch of leaks, and little by little, looks like we've knocked them all out and taken advantage of it, and also taken the advantage of letting those fields rest and done some pretty aggressive weed control, which we're still in the process of doing that. That takes herbicide, so we've taken that opportunity with nobody in the fields to attack those fields pretty good. As Sean said, the marina project is going. We've been working with those contractors. You see a change order around here to add some things that Sean saw out there that we might as well take advantage while they're there. Some stairs reconstructions that we're going to do as concrete. We're addressing those also. Replacing some parts and some of the existing features that weren't being replaced. But then we determined that, listen, we have this opportunity. They're going to fail probably about 1 year to 2 years. So let's go ahead and replace those parts. And we're working with those. The aviation project is moving along. We're getting ready to process a change order, which won't come to council because the net change order total for the project is only going to be about $27,000. Was that what we're going to end up doing? We're going to mill Aviation Boulevard from US 1 all the way to Harbor. That's probably the worst part of that road. You all drive it, it's got some dips and some real rough areas. If I overlay that road the way it is, those dips and those cracks and rough areas are just going to resurface in a couple of years. So we've had some other modifications to the plans that we picked up about $80,000 worth of savings, because this ends up being probably about $110,000 change order add on to the project. But at the end of the day, it's only going to be a $20,000 increase to the project. And right now, it looks like we're getting DOT to pick up that $20,000 in that cost, which I think is pretty big. You're seeing, I know a lot of questions come up with the sodding out there. It's kind of brown. Listen, with this time of year, anytime you lay Bahia sod, that's the way it's going to come. The growers can't do anything about it. It's just April, May, it's dry. But Bahia sod does come back once the rains come back. And these guys are watering, despite what people think, they're out there with a water truck every single day. We're verifying it with our inspectors. They are watering it, but it's still just very dry, but it will come back and get brown. So we got that portion going on. We've got the finalizing that change order here in the next couple of days. And then we're going to take those millings that we're taking from that road, instead of the contractor hauling it off, we're gonna take those millings and then finish the rest of Socorro Beach Road. From left off all the way closer to US 1 and eliminate that drop off in the shoulders there. So by the time the kids go back to school, they're gonna have a much safer road to travel up on there, coming back out to Socorro Beach Road. As George said, we're just wrapping up the canal project there on Canal 257, which is on Spoonville. Just waiting on some additional as-built information from the contractor so I can review, certify, and send that off to DEP and the Corps engineer to close that permit and close that project out. That time of the year again, I've got my staff, we already started updating our hurricane plan and preparing my staff for hurricane season that starts here in another 2 to 3 weeks. We want to jump in the game, both supplies, materials, and just the readiness of my staff. Or if we do get that activation, we'll be quick to address all our issues out there. And with that, like I said, with that stuff, we're still doing what we do every day, and we're going to continue to do that and try to keep the city looking as best as we can.
Thank you, Carlos. Are there any
Mr. Sess, before we move
If anybody
on,
has
to
any
make a
questions, I'll be
comment?
happy to answer any of those. I'm sorry, what, Dan?
Dan, did you?
I just wanted to make a comment. You mentioned the checkpoint. I just got an email from Bruce from the county, and our schedule ended on the 17th of May, but he said that they are extending it. They're going to send me a new schedule, and I'll get it filled out. So I've had 2 guys that live in Key Largo that have been filling in those slots, saving a lot of travel time for the city. And I'll find out if they're still interested in Carlos. You can check, make sure, you guys are still interested in filling in those positions.
Right. I think Dan takes Wednesdays with 2 guys, and I take Monday with 1 guy. We've been doing that, and I think those guys they'll continue to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Any questions for Carlos before we move on?
Yes.
Yeah, Louis.
The aviation area, and I just wanted to re-mention to you the areas on the bike path where the asphalt is splitting already, and we have the underlay, the rocks coming through. I want to make sure that that's something which is not getting any better. And also something that I've noticed, and it's a little more noticeable now, is because so many cars have run off the road there at the curve on Aviation. They're going in, is that road, when they recut and relaid the road dimensions, is it wide enough? Because the amount of grass that's being ripped up on a daily basis, I think once this project gets turned over, based on the traffic ripping up the grass, I just think it's too narrow there at the curves. I think it's something that we need to listen to. Final product.
Louis, I only heard about half of what you said. You were breaking in and out, but I can tell you about the curve. Listen, I'd like to make that and give ourselves as much room out there, but we do have right-of-way constraints out there. We only have the right-of-way to work with that we have to work with, we've pushed that road to the opposite side of the road to create a little bit more space there and create as much space as we can. Around that little curve, I saw that too, Louis. I saw that a couple of people came off the road right about the time when we had those heavy rains. So I'm sure that area was real muddy.
Yep.
And it tore up that sod a little bit. I'm really hesitant to put something like gravel in that area or rock, which will be a little safer. But the only problem with rock that we're constantly having to go back and rake it off the bike path. I tried that at Coco Plum one time, and it was really created a lot of work for the crew. And maybe that's the solution, but then you have the gravel on the path with people rollerblading or something, and that becomes a little bit of an issue too. Maybe we consider doing something like I did between Stirrup Key and 107th Street, where I actually paved that 5-foot strip between the path and the road, even though I'm going to put some the striping that's got those rumble feels. So when you go in that stripe, you're going to feel it was your car. And maybe that's a solution in that area. Pave that little 4-foot strip right there on the curve, because it's going to seem to be a continuous problem with the landscaping. So bringing it up, maybe we add that to that change order and pave that little bit of area up there. And the same thing, we put the rumble strips there striping, so people, at least, as soon as they start drifting off the pavement a little bit, they'll know it real quick. They're off and straighten themselves back up. So I'll discuss that with our contractor or CEI tomorrow and look at that before I finalize that change order, if that's what we want to do.
Yeah,
Thank you.
actually, I
And,
agree
and
with
one other
Councilman
thing,
Gonzalez.
I know that one other thing,
One at a time, guys.
we've talked about this before. The contract for the expansion of the office, I think back in February, out. I got a feeling that this is probably one of those things that we're going to hold on, but I just want to stress that this needs to be a priority, because we have, you know, at any given time, 5 or 6 people that are really kind of working on top of each other in there, and that expansion is needed not only for the employees, but for instance, with the summer camp situation, it gives them another out with a bigger room to be able to take care of additional situations, and the conditions are very, very tight. So I think that we need to really look at that.
What we did recently, Councilmember Gonzalez, is put together a list of the other projects I've got ready to put out to bid and discuss those with Jennifer. That was maybe one of the projects where she said it's not a safety issue, even though it's an important project. Maybe put that up towards the latter part of this year, just for us to take a step back and breathe and see what our situation is going to be by mid-summer. Are we going to have a drastic drop in revenue? Or property taxes going to reduce drastically? And then, you know, taking those things into account, and I think in the next 2 or 3 months, we'll start maybe getting a better idea of that and look at prioritizing our projects. For example, the kayak dock is a great thing and so forth. You know, do we, you know, move that one further on back because, you know, the cash flow and the which projects that we're going to prioritize. I've got a list of various projects up here that we're looking at putting out to bid here in the next few months, and that's a SAD for Coco Plum. We recently resubmitted the TDC grants for the bathrooms at Sunset Park and the Quay property. We had to do it a little different format because last year the county told us, because we're not beaches, they're not doing this regular TDC grant at 100%. I resubmitted them this time around as a public facility, which if they approve, they only fund at 70%, but it's still 70%. So we're looking at those 2 projects. Something that Mark will be interested in, that'll help the area on the golf course, but we've got the injection well structure project that also provides some stormwater improvement near that area of the golf course. Mark, once we do that, complete that project, that berm that we've talked about, they can be constructed. But right now, in reality, when we have real heavy rain, the golf course actually takes our water. And if we block that berm, it'll help when we have the keen tides, because water's not going to back up. But when we have a heavy rainfall, that water has nowhere to go. And we're going to be ponding water on Sombrero Beach Road until we get those structures and storm sewer put in. So it's a catch-22 trying to make them feel that berm. It's going to help in certain conditions, but it's also going to hurt in other conditions. And I think I'd rather wait till we have those control structures put in place. And that's about $120,000 project. That is a grant that we'll get reimbursement for. But like I said, with all the projects, we're writing checks first, and then we're at the mercy of the reimbursements when they come in. So we're going to start prioritizing those projects. Councilman Gonzalez, that's going to be one of the projects that we're looking at, and put that in the correct pecking order depending on what our situation is.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, are there any other questions for Carlos? All right,
Just curious,
I'd like to wrap
if,
that up as far as
Carlos, Steve Cook.
Go ahead, sir.
I was just curious about with that development with the RVs on the corner there. For the life of me, I can't think of the name of it. But is there going to be any problem on that curve with the RVs coming out, and how their gates and how their entrances and exits are working out on that road as the curve stands now?
We looked at that during the permitting phase, looked at the thing. I did have initial concern, like initially, for example, they had parking spaces that were backing right out to aviation. We made them modified so at those spaces, they can back up, you know, within the, outside the pavement so they can, you know, front aviation, putting up there. I actually, since they've been finished, actually stood myself kind of vehicle height right there where that driveway comes out of the curve. And you do have a pretty good line of sight looking at aviation actually in both directions, because you're almost right in the middle of the curve there where that driveway comes out. Maybe a little bit past the middle, but there is decent visibility, especially
Okay.
with those vehicles back up. The visibility is very good there. I feel comfortable that, you know, listen, if somebody's driving around that curve at 60 miles an hour, that's going to be a problem because you're going to get up there real quick. But listen, you can't drive that curve at that fast, or you shouldn't be. Not to say that people never have, but that will be the exception. And things of that nature we can control. But the way it is now, with the speed limit, it should be a fine situation.
All right, thank you, sir. Thanks for your report. Thanks, Chuck.
All right, thank you, Carla. Yeah, just to kind of to wrap it up, I'm sorry that's a little unorthodox. It's not normally the way we do business, but it's been quite a while since we've been able to get together. So I wanted to make sure that all the directors were on. They were kind of give you an update on all the stuff that they're working on and the good work of their people. We're really proud of everybody. Everybody's been working across the department lines and helping out. It's been pretty impressive. So with that, I'll wrap up the COVID update. I'll tell you that we're still in phase one. We're waiting for clear guidance from the governor on when we would go to phase two and what phase two would actually entail, so we can make our strategic plans accordingly. Once we get that information, obviously I'll get that to you all. We'll get it in the EOC. Chief will digest that and we'll move forward. So I'd like to open the floor if there's any questions in regard to COVID, and then we can wrap this up and move on with the rest of the agenda. All right, if there's no other questions regarding COVID and kind of the processes in which we've gone through, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to hand it over to Dirk for his legal department attorney application information.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can everyone hear me? I guess that's a silly question. Anyhow, I've put some materials together in your board packet that are comprised of the following. First item in the packet is the solicitation that was used for the last in-house. The second thing is the in-house contract that was between Dave Miggott and the city. The third thing is the contractual proposal that I put forth. The fourth thing I put in there is the budget data that compares the in-house model to the proposal that I have. And the last thing I did is I provided everybody with an executive summary yesterday, providing for the highlights of what my proposal is. So I've spoken with all of you. I know that that everybody's read it, and I've tried to answer some questions. I don't want to sit and go over something that I know you all have read. Is there anything in particular that you'd like me to sum up, or just give the details of my May 11th highlights?
Well, I guess, it looks like Doc Zieg, please.
Well, first of all, to turn back a few months, we, the council, had directed you to go out and publicize a search for this position of in-house attorney. And shortly after that, you had come up with this proposal, which is very well done for you to be considered. I think for the sake of transparency, rather than just hand you a contract without getting input from a number of other sources, I think that we ought to go back on what the council had previously voted on, and that was to direct you to go out for a search. But certainly you have done very, very outstanding work for us in the interim with all the different challenges, 2 viruses, et cetera, et cetera. So am certain that we would all want you to be considered in there too, but it would be my suggestion, for the sake of not being criticized for a contract that's just handed to you, that we do go ahead and remind you that we had asked for a search and put it out for the next 30 days of interested parties. Please.
Mr. Sim Martin.
Thank you. Dirk, I'm actually in complete agreement there with Councilman Zeke. You know, it's been, I don't know, 5 months since I saw that, since Mr. Miggets left. And, you know, we had asked right from the get-go that his application, his original employment agreement, city attorney description had been to be given out so that people could apply for the position. I know some things have happened city-wise with the computer and with the COVID stuff, but none of that should have prevented his application from being published and advertised. You know, again, same sentiment here. I like you a lot. You do good work. I've told you before, I'm not complaining about the quality of your work, but we did ask you to do something repeatedly now that we haven't gotten, and you're sort of asking us to choose you over what might be behind door numbers 2, 3, or 4. And I'm not much of a gambling guy, so I would prefer to see the application go out and let some people apply if there is anybody interested. And then at that point, we can take it to the next step. I think your contract here is nice, but I do think it's a little premature.
Mr. Bartis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The one thing that the contract does have is still has the 30-day out clause. And while I totally agree we need to move forward and try to, we do put out an RFP or an RFQ or whatever we do to try to see if anybody is interested. I'm also aware that continuity of government is something that's also important and would probably be a good idea to at least have this in effect until we decide to do something else as a council.
Anyone? Vice Mayor? You're muted.
Okay, yes, Dirk, I've several times this, and I too, you know, talked to you in reference to the proposal, and we've talked about different things that, you know, can be tweaked in the proposal. I mean, it's not a perfect proposal, but I really want you to consider, you know, relooking at it and resubmitting it along with the other applicants. We know the kind of work that Dirk Smith does, and we know that Dirk Smith performs for the city when the city asks for Dirk to perform. So I think it's the right thing to do is, you know, put it out. And we know that you've been, you know, spearheading all of our efforts every time you're called on for the last 5 years. You know, you've been there for the city, and that in itself has to be worth something, that every time we've had an issue on to Dirk, and Dirk's been there for us. So I'm willing to look at other applicants, but you know, just look at the you know, the tweaks, the things that we've talked about, and bring it back.
Dirk, I'd like to thank you for all the hard work that you've done thus far. I personally know all of the time that you spend working for us, and you're a man of many masters. And you really do put us first, I think, as much as you possibly can. I think, as was said earlier today, COVID is not necessarily the optimal emergency to judge a person on, especially in a new situation. You know, my thoughts are more geared to every day, and then what we normal, and I don't know what normal is, but you know, the normal for us is if a storm is bad enough that we need to bug out or that we need to hunker into the EOC, you know, I would want in in your contract, something that brought you into the EOC where, you know, frankly, there's other times when you can be doing work for other people as well, but you're there in the EOC getting, making contact with all of the meetings and the whatever, you know, the EPG has to discuss and then take to the IC and or how many ever ICs there may be, if we have a joint, you know, command. But I'm just curious if there's a way, because talking to staff today, you know, thinking about how we're billing right now for as an outside counsel, as a kind of a special outside counsel, and we're getting all manner of bills, whereas you've set up a very nice flat rate. And as Mr. Bardis mentioned that, you know, that we could possibly, with your approval, run on a contingency plan where we go ahead, let's put it out for RFP for an in-house, see what we get, see what we would like to get. We'll discuss it. And in the interim, then we have you on a flat rate and we're ready for storm season. And until, who knows how long this could take. It could be 30 days, it could be months before you find a suitable person for in-house, or maybe we never do. I really like your work. I think you have the municipal qualifications, but I agree that we did ask for this to go out and be looked at by other jurists. So does anybody have any thoughts on that?
Mr. Mayor, I can chime
Mr.
in on some of the comments.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
No, I appreciate all of you and your sentiments, and I thank you for praising my work. And I take great pride in working for the city of Marathon, and I have over the last 5 years of opportunities I've had, really enjoyed it. And I really do think that I would be a great addition to your team. I can tell you that what I put forth as I discussed in the summary that I gave to everybody was, this is what I have done in the past. Not everything is a one size fit all. As far as you're concerned, Mr. Mayor, I would happily build in that I need to be in any EOC in any emergency, including hurricanes, etc. I would happily do that. I think that's part and parcel of the job of the Marathon City Attorney. And I would incorporate that on some level that is palatable. And pretty much whenever I need to be there, I will be there. That's one of the things I did want to add is I know sometimes people would maybe say, well, yeah, you might not have Dirk. This is a career goal for me. I have wanted to represent a municipality like Marathon for a long time. And so as something I desire to do, I want to do the best I can, and I want to give you the best deal I can. So maybe I can get the opportunity. With regard to putting this out, I completely apologize. My thought was at the last meeting that I was to come back with a proposal for me. After thinking about it, I guess what I did do is I went ahead and pulled the ad that you guys had before and the prior contract. Based on that, I could put the ad out tomorrow. So that's not an issue. I'll have that linked up on the various websites, including local government topics and so forth. So that's nothing I can't do right away. But again, accept my apologies. I thought that was something on the back burner based on what I understood at the last meeting. So the only other thing I have to say is, Councilman Bardis is correct, and as are you, Mr. Mayor, is that I have a program on the table that works and it saves money, and I've given you the budget data to show that it'll save you money. So with that program or something very similar to it, with addressing your concerns, Mr. Mayor, and a 30-day out clause, you're saving money by doing it. And if something changes, I'm out in 30 days. So I'm putting this thing forward just sort of like, hey, this is a way to do the program and give me the chance to get to know Marathon better, and Marathon a chance to get to know me better. And if it doesn't work, we've all got 30 days to leave. But in the interim, you can save money by doing this agreement, and you can have the 30-day out, and we can still advertise. So all of the things are in front of you. I don't think anything's mutually exclusive. So I guess that's where I hope, if I didn't address anyone's comments, I apologize. That's my generic response to everyone.
Mr. Sin Martin.
Thank you. So I just want to make sure that I've got all this clear, because maybe I was misinterpreted. I'm not saying by any stretch, Dirk, that, you know, when the meeting's over, have a nice life. I'm not saying that. What I was hoping to do is just continue forward as we are today, as we have been for the last several months, until we get to either have some applicants for this position or not. If you're telling me that that the contract is required to continue moving forward, then that's fine. That's one thing. But I just sort of assumed that we would continue as we are, you know, pending more applications if they come.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you're on a straight hourly program right now. That's fine by me if you want to continue with that. I've got a program that I put together that incorporates a lot of different, well, it saves money and it makes things a little more streamlined, I guess. But I'll continue under my present contract. It's not a problem. And I will definitely put the ad out forthwith tomorrow. And we'll take it up in the next meeting if that's what you'd like to do.
May I ask a question at this point? May I
Yes,
ask
sir.
Jen Johnson kind of chime in here, budgetarily speaking? Do you think that's appropriate, Chuck?
Yeah, I think that's appropriate. I think, Jen, do you have any financial concerns?
No, we can always do a line item transfer to move money from the salaries down to professional services.
Well, I guess what I was asking, and I didn't ask very clearly, I think, was right now we're on straight hourly, and I can hear it in the voice of Mr. Smits that he would be happy, more than happy, to keep it the way it is. And based on some of the conversations I had at the EOC today, I understand why. And he has proposed a wonderful way for us to save some money by doing a flat rate with a 30-day out. I just am curious, and I'm not trying to push anything down anybody's throat, but it could save us potentially a ton of money, I think. Am I correct in saying that, Ms. Johnson?
Of course, if you're working under an hourly rate, there is the potential to have a huge bill. The last bills have ranged between around $11,000 to $15,000 for the month. But again, it's purely a council decision on the route they want to take.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Bardis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The other thing too is we are we're here just a couple of weeks away from the start of hurricane season. We don't have currently an attorney who is going to be in the trenches with us in an EOC, and I think that's kind of important. I don't know if we're going to be able to do a search in 2 weeks, 2 months, or whenever we're going to, however long this is going to take. So I would prefer to see a clause like the one you suggested added to the contract, and us to proceed under that contract with a 30-day out clause, while we still go ahead and put out an RFP or an RFQ and see what is out there. I would hate to see us without an attorney on hand in case we did get hit by another storm, so that we couldn't have all those contracts evaluated at the current moment. I don't see that, like somebody said, these items are not mutually exclusive. We can proceed with the contract and still proceed with the search.
Thank you, Mr. Bardis. Anyone else? Now's the time. Mr. San Martin.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. San Martin,
agree with what
go ahead.
Mr. Bardis is saying.
Mark, go ahead.
Can you hear me? I'm speaking. Can you hear me?
Somewhat.
Yes? Okay.
Somewhat.
So, all right.
Not like Louis.
agree. Okay, I'm not sure why all of a sudden, but I would agree with what Councilman Bardis is saying. As long as we're not locking ourselves into something, I'd like to see some correction to the contract. I will submit it, and then maybe we can continue, at least in the short term, while we do a search. And if the search is not fruitful, then we take it from there.
Anybody like to make a motion on that?
I make that motion.
Motion
The
made.
motion that stay with Dirk in the interim.
We already have a
Forward.
motion, Louis.
Second.
We already have a motion from Mark San Martin. Louis is a second.
Mr. Mayor, just for a point of clarification, Mark, can you?
Point of clarification. Go ahead.
Would you explain the motion to me? I just heard I'm making a motion, but I didn't. What's the back?
So the motion is that we adjust the contract that Dirk has provided to include the mayor's concern about the EOC occupancy, attendance rather, and that we continue with it for a 30-day term and then reevaluate while we take other applicants.
Go ahead, Mr. Bardis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just don't see the point if we're just doing it on a 30-day term when we have a 30-day out whenever we decide to invoke it. I just would like to see us have this in place so that in case the search maybe perhaps takes longer than 30 days, or we do a search and some 60 days, 90 days later, we see that we don't have anything better out there, or I would just not like to see us in a situation where we're in a hurricane season and we don't have the coverage that we need in the EOC. So if it's a motion to accept the contract with the mayor's concerns about having an attorney in the EOC, complete with a 30-day out clause that we can invoke at any time for any reason, I don't think I could support going forward just on a 30-day basis.
Okay, I
Would
will amend my
the
motion.
gentleman's,
May
go
I?
ahead.
I will amend
Yes,
my
sir.
motion
I was trying to tell you that.
to say that to take out the 30-day contract and just extend it.
I'm sorry, that doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, so the motion is that we add your concerns to the contract about the EOC and accept it with a 30-day out.
I think it has a 30-day out.
Yes. Yes.
So the only change should be
search.
And continue the search, yes.
or begin the search.
Sorry, yes, begin the search.
Mr. Bardis,
One more
point of order.
Clarification again here. So the motion is to accept the contract that was put forth to us with the addition of having the attorney in the EOC while we still continue the search.
Yes.
Yes. And for the seconder, Louis, do you second that new motion?
I will second the new motion.
All
I'll
right.
amend my first, second, and go with the second.
Okay. Thank you. Diane, would you call the roll?
Councilmember San Martin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gonzalez,
He's nodding yes.
Yes.
okay, thank you. Councilmember Bardis,
Yes.
Councilmember Z,
Yes.
Mayor Cook,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you all. I really appreciate your faith in me, and I will have the ad out tomorrow and the contract amended to add the mayor's concerns forthwith.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, I guess, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's right, sir. I was just gonna conclude that concludes our city manager report. If there's no questions of me, then I was gonna turn it over to you.
All right. I just want to, at the end of your report, I just want to thank you personally for all the work you're doing, keeping this this very, very weird enemy at bay, and keep helping to guide our city with our IC. JJ, thank you so much.
Thanks, sir. I did want to, I forgot one point, and I apologize. In addition to all the COVID efforts and the efforts of our staff, there's been a lot of work legislatively. There's been a lot of work with both of our teams in Tallahassee. I doubt they're listening, but we've gotten incredible support from both Ron Book's office and Brian Ballard's office, specifically Ronna and Carol. Their work has been great. In addition, there's been a lot of work collaboratively with the other municipalities in the county on this particular effort with the state. And I really want to single out and point out and thank Lisa Tennyson from the county, who's done an incredible job kind of help corralling all of us and making sure that we've got one collective voice in Tallahassee. So there's been a lot of efforts on a lot of fronts. I just want to thank staff and thank all of our teams, and thank you guys for your support of me and definitely your patience during a pretty challenging and interesting time. So thank you all.
Yeah, it has been very challenging. I just want to add that it was the 9th operational period. We just did our 8th extension to it. And with that, we had 2 terms of the ransom hack before that. So the EOC has been pretty busy. With that, I guess we move on to resolutions for adoption. 9, Charlie, please.
Resolution 2020-26, approval of a contract between the City of Marathon, Florida and the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity in the amount of $5 million for the implementation of the CDBG-DR home buyout program, providing signature authority and providing for an effective date.
Is there any discussion on this?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
To
Mr.
approve 2020-26.
All right, Mr. Zig has made a motion.
I'll second it, and just
All right.
a slight bit of I'm glad that we're getting part of this DEO money down there to help some people perhaps get out of their houses. It'd be nice to see the DEO come down here with some Rebuild Florida money to help people put their houses back together.
That's in their back pocket. We have a motion and a second. Do we need to call the roll for this $5 million? I would imagine.
We do not.
We do not. So I guess a head nod is enough. All right. I'm nodding. I'm nodding. Verily, yay. And at this time, I think, and Mr. Smits, correct me if I'm wrong, do we have a citizen comment that we were trying earlier to get? And we've been having some tough times. And
I believe we do, Mr. Mayor, and I would call upon Mr. Jones to chime in here and see if we have our public participant available. He's doing
Diane
my
Scott had
legal
called in
tech.
earlier, was having some difficulty connecting, but I will go ahead and get her on the line. Just give me one moment. She is waiting for the call.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okey doke. Well, I mean, I guess we could start some council comments.
You can probably start
or-
with the council comments while we're waiting.
Well, I don't know.
Yes, you may.
Okay, let's start with council comments. Let's do Mr. Ken Martin. Sorry? Sorry? Mr. St. Martin, why don't you go ahead while we wait?
Okay. First of all, I just would like to really express my thanks to all of the staff especially you guys who are at the head of the snake, as it were, in handling all of this fun stuff. There is a lot that happens day to day that many of us don't know about. And you guys are doing a good job with it. And we don't get to really talk to you so much to express that. So I just really want to make sure I get it out there. I will be asking in the future, maybe of the attorney, if there is a way for the information from the executive committee that can flow a little easier to the rest of us so that we have some of that understanding of what it is you guys go through all the middle of this type of thing. So I understand we have a system in place, and it is what it is, but it definitely leaves us a little bit lacking. So that's it.
All right, gentlemen, we have our citizen comment on the line. Thank you, Mr. San Martin. Ms. Scott.
Council, I have Diane Scott on the line for you. Ms. Scott, go ahead.
Okay, I need to state my name.
Yes, please.
Diane Scott, Marathon, Florida. Can I start talking?
Go ahead.
Okay, I want to talk about no term limit. I think there should be a no term limit on the city council, and I think the election should be done every year. That's my thought. And also, I think that the cities should revise their firing policy. I personally think the city employees should be fired, and the city councilman should step down. Both get arrested, their behavior makes us feel bad. So that's all I'm going to say tonight.
Is that all, Ms. Scott?
Oh, and also, the utility director dance on, please return my phone. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. You have a great evening.
All righty, Dr. Zig, would you like to give your final comments for the night?
Very simple. It's been a very challenging evening with this Zoom meeting, but I think it has come off quite well. And I simply want to thank Chuck and all the staff in the city, everyone who's done extra time in the EOC, and thank everyone for your efforts. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Doctor. Mr. Bartis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I'd like to thank you for all the hard work that you've been putting into this. You know, as mayor, you don't get to choose how peaceful a year you're going to have or how uneventful a year you're going to have. And well, sorry for the luck of the draw there, pal. But you're doing a great job. Chuck's doing a great job. Chief's doing a great job, and everybody who's in that EOC and everybody that's working hard countywide is doing a fantastic job in making sure that we have kept our case count as low as it could possibly be, and are still working to do that. There's also a lot of volunteers, a lot of people that are out there really helping out, and I really want to call out Isla Miranda Mayor Mike Forster and everything that he's done. He's probably done well over 40,000 meals, provided free meals to people who really do need a helping hand and a hot meal. And he does it every day. He has a lot of volunteers and a lot of people that donate, but he's taken it upon himself. And so I guess we're going to be doing it again in Marathon this coming Saturday at Brutus Seafood. Thanks to Elise at Brutus Seafood and Kate over at Sweet Savannah's for providing food. So we're going to be doing a hot lunch and probably produce bags as well, starting 11 a.m. at Brutus Seafood. There's a lot of other volunteers that are doing their best to make this time as peaceful and as resourceful as with their resources, helping a lot of people meet the needs they have. And Last, I'd like to thank everybody in Marathon for their patience, for helping us to do the job that we need to do, and help keep the case count down, and keep our islands as safe as they can be from the coronavirus threat. And with that, see you at my virtual concert again on Facebook Live this Friday, and support your local businesses. And we will see you on this other virtual meeting here again real soon.
Thank you, Mr. Bartis. Vice Mayor Gonzalez, if you please.
Well, thank you to the staff. Thank you for all that you do on a day in and day out basis. EOC, you guys have been amazing. Thank you. Sometimes I know that it's tough to get the information out to us when social media beat you to it, but I know you guys are working your tails off to get it to us in a timely manner. Through the EMS, fire, and sheriff department, thank you very much for always putting us as your priority. And everyone in the city of Marathon, keep crushing this curve and we'll be fine. Thank you.
All right, I guess it's up to me. And first and foremost, I want to thank you, the members of the council, for your patience and your support of all the staff, of us, your patience while you're not knowing necessarily what's going on a minute-to-minute basis. You know, we apologize if we haven't gotten every bit of information out, but sometimes the information is flowing so fast it's irrelevant by the time it went out. And other times we're standing around waiting just like you. But really, for 9 weeks of sitting back and not being a part of it, I salute you for your patience. Thank you. I'd like to thank the city staff for really pulling us through, making things happen at this city. And that goes as well for Chuck, keeping the staff motivated, for all the directors, Paul, you as well, outstanding job of keeping people motivated. Sean and Dan Souse and Carlos, thanks for all of your hard work. JJ, thanks for all of the work you do in the EOC, and plus keeping fires from blowing up 50 bags of nitrogen fertilizer. And Mr. Smits, congratulations. Thank you for the hard work. You got lucky. I was going to ask if you would go retroactive on the billing cycles, but I didn't get around to it. So, but I'd like to thank you for I'd like to thank you for all the work that you and Galen, thank you, Galen, for all the work you did to put this meeting together. And I think Priscilla, did some work there too. I'd like to thank. Oh, thank you so much. And thank you, Jen, for all your work, and anybody that I may have missed there. I mean, I could thank everybody all night. The fire rescue, awesome work last night. Nobody hurt and none of the firefighters hurt. It is kind of scary to see how congregate people can be when they're watching a fire. But let's see. I'd like to also put out a little thank you to the fire rescue and the county for showing up and for the work they do at the airport every day. We just got a list of how many people showed up today, for example, and we had 25 people get off, and I don't know if they're residents or if they're guests, but they're not, maybe not supposed to be here. So I thank them for being diligent and getting the paperwork that we need so that we can do our work and keep our citizens healthy and crush that curve. Thanks to MCSO for all of the ongoing or organizing and the manning of our checkpoint, and watching while still watching our backs in our homes. It's been kind of a challenging week last week and very tragic, but they had things well under control. And as far as the checkpoint goes, thank you the city employees that are manning the post for us. We couldn't keep this thing up without you guys, really. Anyway, thank you to all the EOC employees and love you all. And with that, I guess this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Peace out.